Eric Omondi, we're calling him Community Mobilizer and Defender. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Welcome to the hot seat of the situation.
Asante.
Good to see you here.
Good to see you guys.
Siti, welcome our Community Mobilizer and Defender with the day's proverb. Eric, listen to this proverb. We want to hear interpretation of it.
Okay.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Algeria. Now the day's proverb. The crow wanted to mimic the pigeon's walk and forgot his own.
The crow wanted to mimic the pigeon's walk and forgot his own. Senator told us Agag is the crow. He did not remember, or he remembered as he was living.
He remembered at the end.
What the pigeon is. Eric.
Akuru.
Akuru. Akuru is pigeon.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So what's your interpretation of this proverb?
Be yourselves. Be yourself and walk your path and follow your dream. You are.
It's you.
You.
Don't try to be somebody else. Something you're not. You may become that. And you lose yourself.
But you know, Eric, what you're saying is difficult one.
Being yourself.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because I observe that when people become Mweshimiwa, they change instantly.
They stop being themselves.
They are Mweshimiwa now. You know, when somebody's a Mweshimiwa, even calling him by his name sometimes is an anathema.
Yeah. Starts walking like a pigeon.
How you guys?
Mweshimiwa. Don't just call me.
What do you mean? You don't call me like a villager. Tell anybody, brother, you're a villager.
Then that's him.
Yes.
Not the former.
That's now the real him.
Now that's the real him.
That's the real crow.
That's the real crow. Yeah.
Eric, we've been seeing you being very, very active. Even before this flood situation, we saw you, take up something that you saw on social media about a bridge and a girl who was trying to cross over from one side of a river to another side to cross over and go to school. And you took action, you mobilized, and you got support to go and build a bridge there. What is this who is this, Eric?
I just realized that Kenyans are literally on their own in every situation. And I've traveled. I've been to around 16 counties. And this is evident in every level. Literally, as in they are on their own. And nobody's coming to save them. Nobody's coming to rescue them. Not anytime soon. And people will die. People are dying. Even today, people have died. There's a woman stuck in Kitengela. She's called Wangari with the 3. She's a widow. As I'm speaking on Spice now. Her sitting room is filled with water, and now it's getting to her upper room, which is the kids' bedroom.
What?
This water is electrified because she rushed up when the floods came in. She didn't switch off any sockets. This woman has been tweeting from 6:30. Tweeted to Kenya Power, tweeted to Red Cross, tweeted to the Kenyan government. This woman called me and told me, Eric, please, if this water gets to my kids' bedroom, where they're all holed up. It's been 4 hours. Eric, it's been 4 hours.
Which part of Kitengela?
It's called, I wanted to read this message. She says, she just texted me even a photo of her and her children. She's called Wangari. Blessed Court along Balozi Road. As in I mean, government officials. I've held so many meetings in moments when they needed to jump into action. 5 days ago, I was in Athi River. I was called by a guy who was on the SGR to Mombasa. Called me at around 7. Said, I've seen something and I'm not sure what I've seen. I think I've seen hundreds of people on top of roofs. That was in Athi River. So this thing happened like an hour before the train passed. So I rushed there. 8 people called me from Athi River. Some border operators who have my number. I got there. at 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, 10:15, 11:15. I left there at 12:15. Kenyans had posted. There was no single officer, not even an AP or a policeman.
Who was on the ground?
No one. And at the same time, after we posted all these videos with children, I saw a young girl on top of a roof for 4.5 hours crying. I went online and I saw the President of the Republic of Kenya launching a motor vehicle plant. The governor was calling for a press conference. How do you call for a press conference to talk, discuss, prepare, plan? Na kuna mtoto juu ya nini Eriko? Kuna mtoto juu ya mabati. Can we have meetings after the floods? There are funds, there are teams, there are disaster management. Can the government swing into action? Because every time something happens, even Mau, the president had a cabinet meeting. Ya nini? Do you know how long a meeting takes? Then they have these waters and tea and cookies in the meeting. They actually drink tea. Wanaeka skari and they actually koroga and they drink tea and discuss for 6 hours. While there are people stuck in the mud, dead. Families, people. There's a guy, I don't know why they watched what I posted when I was in Nini. In my mind, there's a guy who's lost a son. Yeah, I posted all those things. The daughter alipatikana kwa mti, alive. The guy looked for the son. People are pulling their kids from the mud, dead. While again, President Ruto is in a meeting in State House with the entire cabinet. And Gachagua flew there on a very big chopper. Did 2 rounds. Akasimama, then again microphone.
You're saying that there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the talk of response and the actual response.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
From all these places that you've been to,
Yes.
are you saying that you have not seen coordinated response?
I've not seen any coordinated, not any response.
Because we've seen other forms of coordinated response. For example, reaction.
Yes.
For example, in Machakos County, when there was flooding at Crystal Rivers, when there was flooding elsewhere, where we've seen county officials coming to say, all right, so this is the situation right now. Guys, there are people who are marooned there. I've come with ambulance. I've come with other officials. We've come with county officials. How do we coordinate all of us so that we can all move? Those who are unable to move, we find a way of carrying them. And they've done that. Are you saying, for example, in the river, when you went there and you spent those 4 or 5 hours there, that there was no chief, assistant county commissioner, deputy county commissioner, Red Cross? Is that what you're saying? County officials?
There was nobody. There were hundreds of people. There was out of confusion. And women screaming. There was nobody to organize people, to calm people down, to assure people, until I got there with a boat. Yeah? And they took over the boat.
Who?
The young men.
Yes.
The local community.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was stewarding the boat, but they took over. Eric, you should have seen when I arrived at the pickup and they saw the boat. They didn't even untie it. They tore. And we went and rescued 34 people. The Machakos County, there was a picture that was trending of a young girl that the governor was pictured carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah? And then another county officer was also pictured carrying. And then another one, there were 3. And somebody commented and said, kwani mtoto anabebwa mara ngapi?
It was the same child.
Si alikuwa amebebwa na governor.
Yeah.
In the Facebook post.
Different sections.
Wanapokezana. Kafika hapa kampate mwake.
Wanapokezana.
Ya huyu pia akaendelea kidogo kampate.
It's a photo op. Nipatie.
Piga picha.
Chukua ingine. Songa nyuma. And they posted it. The governor's account. I think they deleted it when people started saying, mtoto amebeba, kwani mnabeba mtoto mara ngapi? You see that confusion? How do you even post that? Yeah? So Kenyans are on their own.
There's a problem what you're saying. There's a problem.
There's a very big problem, and that's why I am rallying Kenyans to come together and solve their own problems.
Because that's a major thing, Eric, isn't
Yes,
it? Because
it is.
now we are saying that for a disaster of such great proportions, it's not just Maimahiu, but like you said, on the eastern side of the city, if you're coming from Nairobi, going towards Machakos, Athi River, Kitengela. I mean, just this morning, we've heard that there are folks, apart from what you're saying, we've heard that other folks now are stuck again because of the water that has logged their houses. We're talking about parts of Nairobi. Across the country, I don't think there's anywhere you look right now where there are not people with help. But what you're saying that struck me is that, I mean, we've heard it before and it's been used. But here we are in such a disaster. And are you really saying that Kenyans are on their own, and that the responsibility to save other Kenyans, the responsibility to get them out of these difficult situations, to provide food, water, shelter, is actually on the shoulders of Kenyans themselves? Yes. And a government which has been put in place with structures and funds and resources to do this, then is not there.
Yes. And it's happening as we are speaking now in Kitengela. The videos streaming of people sending me WhatsApp of Kenyans saving Kenyans. Kenyans carrying Kenyans. Kenyans providing, like in my mouth, I saw people giving blankets, some old woman giving blankets to some girls. Chukua hii, pelekea nini Jane. It's Kenyans for Kenyans. What the leaders are doing currently, they're discussing term limits, presidential term limits. They're about to appoint CSs. That is the talk in Parliament right now. Otherwise, they're quiet. I've not seen any influential politician speak of a solution since it started flooding.
But the other day, the governor of Nairobi, flanked by the CS, Moses Kuria, as well as, who else was there? There were three of them in uniform. The CS Interior, they were together and they were giving money to Nairobians who had whose homes had been destroyed essentially.
That was 2 days after. On the day of disaster, they had the governor had a press conference again. When news broke that people were dying people were stuck in Mathare, and there were people in Ruiru, a place called OJ, and children stuck marooned. It's called Malund, yeah, around.
Marooned, yeah.
Around Anini. The governor called for a press conference. Two actually. He did one at 1 p.m. and another one with the former prime minister in the evening. And then I think a day or 2 days later, I saw him with Moses Kuria. Again, I saw pictures of them sitting in a conference room. Kuria chairing the meeting, and Sakaja on his left before they left for what you're saying. So my point is, disaster management is about urgency and emergency. Yeah, I mean, I asked the governor Sakaja, if God forbid we have a fire in the city, or KCC is on fire, or even the county offices are on fire, do you call for a press conference or do you call for fire brigade?
Well, we've had a fire in Nairobi.
Did he call for a press conference?
That one...
Later, after putting out the fire.
Yes, put out the fire first. So if a girl is stuck in a tree on top of of a roof, how do you call for media? And say we have seen what's going on. We are going to act. We have set aside.
We have established a multi-stakeholder, multi what?
Agency.
Task force
Committee.
And also I had them yesterday saying, and even on the day of Athi River, they were saying, you have 24 hours to vacate. Those are victims you're talking to. Vacate too.
Oftentimes, and this is it, and I think this is now where you come in, Eric, and in terms of what you've been doing and what we've seen folks who are doing, that lady that you talked about who's giving a blanket, maybe she didn't have it, but giving a blanket to these young girls, and I think this is where it comes in, that you've been doing something over the last, several days. What is that you've been doing, and how have you been able to do it? Because now pointing to the fact that actually something can be done with the speed and urgency that you talk about. So what is it, and why did you decide to?
So we've done a lot as Sisi kwa Sisi, which is basically Kenyans for Kenyans. We've built a bridge. We've taken children to India. When I say we, I mean Kenyans, yeah? Before even the floods. And it's working. And as Kenyans are saving other Kenyans, I've given myself to exposing and shaming this Kenya Kwanza government. That's what I do.
You've given yourself to that?
I'll just expose and shame. People have been saying, why do you carry cameras? Just go help. I carry the cameras just to shame the government, just to show Kenyans how slow and inconsiderate the government is.
Yeah, because I did see that, and somebody said, okay, well, if Eric Omondi really wants to help out, why then is he, in the eye of the camera, and why is he filming that? If you're going to help out, we don't need you to film it. So that's interesting.
We have sent. We've sent for 3 drones, 4 cameras, even lights. We want to do production now. Sasa inakuwa serious because when they ask us not to record like the government did, we are going to add the volume. Now we're doing production. If there's a girl on top of the roof, we're going to show the world, not Kenya. We're going to show Tanzania, Uganda, US, Canada, that we have a dysfunctional government and a dysfunctioning country. We are going to increase our cameras and our production. Because I, as Eric Omondi, as Kenyans are helping Kenyans, I will expose the president and his government. That's the only way.
Let me ask this question. If we're talking about political leaders, would you therefore then say that those who are in the opposition, because they are leaders and they are influential, should they also not be shamed?
The ones in?
Should they also not be shamed because
All
they are
leaders.
leaders? Yes, all.
Even the ones in there?
In the opposition.
There is no opposition in Kenya.
There isn't any.
There is no single opposition in Kenya.
Hakuna kabisa.
President Ruto is having a ride of his life. The parliament, there is no opposition in Kenya. There is no opposition in Kenya. No wonder we were in this situation. No wonder we're in this situation. And I personally, I'm asking the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, do not, on top of my list, do not attempt or even think of appointing, they're called CSS. CAS. Because he would have done it by now if it were not for the floods. Do not attempt or even think of doing that, even before the doctors are paid, before people who are homeless from the floods are helped. Because I know, niko na inside information kidogo from a politician that it might happen next week. Mr. President, don't.
What? Appointment of CAS.
Okay.
Why?
Mimi niko na intelligence wanakuwa appointed next week.
Okay, but why are you advising that they shouldn't?
If the president tries, sometimes because I'm a comedian and I'm a very small factor, and people might take it as a joke. But this is my message to President Ruto. Do not even think or dream of appointing a single CS. That is about to appoint 23. That will be it's called what that breaks the back?
The straw that breaks the camel's back.
Eric Omondi is requesting the president, respectfully, do not appoint the CSS. Not next week, not next month, not any time. Because doctors are on strike, people are dying in hospitals, children are sleeping in the rain. Mr. President, do not appoint the CSS before you pay the doctors, before you settle the homeless. Because if it does, then we will have a problem.
What do you foresee as a problem that we will have? Because
we will rally Kenyans, which is constitutional. We will rally Kenyans, and I don't think the government will sleep peacefully. Some of us have talked to our parents. Yes, some of us have talked to our mothers, and some of us are willing to lay our lives, because I believe personally that someone has to say it.
Someone has to take a stand.
Someone has to take a stand, and we will take that stand. And I've said it here on Spice. So when it happens, we'll because I know it's going to happen. That's why I'm raising it. Someone from that side has told me.
You look really pained.
Yes, I am.
Why?
I'm pained because I have traveled, for the past 3 months, I've traveled to Kisii, to Nyamira, to Mombasa, to Mandera, to Turkana. I have a child called Paiden has died in my hands. Another one that we took to India died in India and we brought back and buried. I have witnessed the pain that children mostly and women go through because of the negligence and the greed of the Kenyan leaders. So I speak with a lot of pain in my heart. And when I asked the president, Dr. Ruto, not to do these things, I say it while my voice is shaking, because I'm almost at the point where and I've told you, some of us are willing to lay our lives down to see a change. And we must get to a point where Kenyans must say enough is enough. And if I was the government, if I was the president, I would stop and think twice. Yes, because...
Before we take a break, tell us about that, the little child called Paiden.
Paiden was a child in Kenyatta National Hospital who had a tumor on the left side. And the mother, of course, contacted me through Twitter. I rushed to Kenyatta, the pediatric ward. Upon arriving there, I asked, what's the problem? Because the child was crying morning, day, night. Bro, there were no painkillers. Not medicine.
Painkillers.
Painkillers. A painkiller. I don't know what form of painkiller the baby needed. So sumpatie Panadol.
At the very least.
Yeah, but something, anything. Before we handle her with the pain or treat pain, there were no painkillers. So one of the nurses, after an hour, tells me, kuna shida na hii hakuna dawa, hakuna nini, but tumetumana. Then the mother's like, but walisema hivyo ni juzi. So I tried to get the kid out of the hospital to Nairobi West. Took me a whole day. Of course, they said I'm there to shame the hospital. Why am I taking away the baby? I'm not the father. I'm like, the father is here. And I've done my research. We called Mata. We called MP Shah. Then Nairobi West told us, let them toto. They even sent an ambulance. Oh, Eric, if you take the kid, if anything happens to the kid, you will be responsible. I'm like, sawa, the ambulance is here. The whole day, we took the kid around evening. Rushed the kid to Nairobi West. Akapewa dawa, painkillers, the kid akanyamaza. Whatever the doctors did, wakam stabilize. In the morning, I'm called by an Indian doctor and tells me, Eric, I have some very bad news. And the kid is not dead.
Okay.
So relax.
That's not the bad news.
That's not the bad news,
Okay.
yes. And he told me the organs are failing. And then this doctor came in the morning. Kwani mtoto alikuwa wapi? So alikuwa Kenyatta. So he was basically preparing me to prepare the parents that there's nothing they can do. So we lost this kid. And that's when it started dawning on me that there's a lot of negligence in the government as a whole. Because the amounts of cases at Kenyatta National Hospital that are there that just need basic medicine. Eric, you will not believe. People who are dying today. Well, currently people are dying because the doctors are not even there. So it's not just medicine. Even the doctor is not there. So that's how we lost Paiden.
Very sad story. Let's take a break. 26 minutes to 10. Our guest this morning is Eric Omondi, the comedian. He is also a community mobilizer. He is a defender of people's rights. And he's here this morning saying, you know what, enough is enough. People have got to realize, in Eric Omondi's words, we are on our own. And we've got to sort ourselves out. And that's why we have him here so that he can tell us, what do you mean we are on our own? And so what do we do about that? So Eric, like Ndu asked you earlier, so what exactly is this that you've been doing? And yes, we've seen you in all these places. When, for instance, you went to Athi River, you landed there with a boat. Where did you get the boat from? How did you get the boat there? I mean, what is this? And then how were you coordinating with other people to support the affected people? Were you coordinating with government agencies? Did you reach out, for example, to the county commissioner, to local Red Cross, local officials, so that then you can coordinate more effort, more support?
So that was the big question, because everyone was asking, where did you get the boat?
Wapi boat?
Na saizi ni saa 2 asubuhi. Kwanza nakuanga na boat. I mean, I have 3 now. I'm actually building an ark right here.
Oh, thank you, Noah.
Yes. Okay. The government is very predictable. Huh? So when it started flooding, I ordered for a boat from Naivasha. 6 days before, the boat was in Athi River. Imekuwa tu hapo. Because I was 150% sure I'll use it. So I was just sleeping and waking up waiting for the moment.
You knew that there will come a time when we will require the boat.
Yes, and I was right. And
have you seen any other boat in Nairobi?
Yeah.
Have you seen any
I've
other
seen
boat?
they're called the rafters or what?
Yes.
But this is an actual boat, yeah? So I'd ordered the boat. Actually, the night before Athi River, I saw something happening in Ruiru. And I could tell by morning this will be disastrous. So I called the pickup guy, told him, kuja na pickup. It's a very heavy boat. Come with like 8 guys. Fungeni boat.
Load this thing.
Watch a pickup hapo enda. Kwa standby. And so we left. We actually left in the morning for Ruiru before I got the call from the SGR. So we just did a turnaround. So I think to me that is disaster preparedness. And if this government thinks that the rains are done, I think the meteorological department is very clear that the worst is yet to come. So right now, the president, the governors, they should have boats. Tied to pickups. And avoid doing these press conferences. Can pass it to Eric.
So the next part of the question is, as you receive this distress call from somebody and telling you what I'm seeing in Athi River looks like a major issue, do you call? I'm sure you also have contacts of government officials.
I don't call government.
But I'm sure you have you have contacts of the local police.
I do.
In Athi River, right?
Yes.
You have contacts of the county officials in Machakos and Kajiado. Why didn't you call them?
I don't trust them. They will slow me down. They will they will politicize it. They will stop me from rescuing and saving children.
Okay. How about Kenya Red Cross?
Maybe Kenya Red Cross. What the government does is they say, Eric, sasa hiyo wacha serikali itafanya. Sasa unajua pia hizi vitu kuna professionals. Unajua Eric, sasa hii boat wewe unashafanya boat. Tulia kidogo tu. Usiende hapo.
So has anybody stopped you from doing what you wanted to do in terms of... Because essentially, look, Eric, we're not talking about just going and hanging around in Athi River or Ruiru, for example. You're actually going to rescue people who have been stuck in their homes. They can't move because of water.
Yes.
This is what's happening. Or we're talking about... Because that's why I asked you the question. Is it providing food for people? Is it now mobilizing for blankets and things like that? Sanitary? What's happening? Has there been anybody who stopped you from doing any of these things?
Yesterday I was stopped.
Stopped from doing what?
From entering Gea Secondary School, where the flood victims have... so when the flood came into Mayu, people lost their homes.
Sure.
So the government took them to Gea Secondary School, just along the road. And the police stopped me from going in.
Why?
The president was on his way. So nobody could go in. Rais anakuja. I'm like, bro, ni nini bana wewe? Yeah, nataka kusaidia watu. I couldn't go in. They stopped me.
And what did you want to do?
I wanted to go. I was with the father, the guy. I'll show you the guy who lost the son. The story I was telling you, and the wife was in there with other kids, and so we agreed we were gonna help them rent a house. Yeah, the houses there are not very expensive. Kuna nyumbata ya 3K, 3,000. So we had that conversation, and so told me I'm not the only one. Let's go, because we are currently working on a pay bill for Sisi kwa Sisi. I've been requested by friends from the US. So I was thinking like that, like let's see how many more. And I told the policeman, we really had a very bad altercation. I told him, are you okay? Are you a Kenyan? Wewe unalipwa pesa ngapi mshahara? Ndio ni stop. We really fought. And I had to stop because now the public wanted to deal with him, yeah. You know, mpaka I had to apologize because I think I insulted him. I told him, wewe sasa unalipwa pesa ngapi na utumie akili. He actually stopped me.
But Eric, that guy was given instructions. I mean,
that's why I apologized to him later on.
He was just doing his job.
Actually, security issue.
I went back and apologized to him.
The president is making his way here.
Yes.
For security reasons. Let's control movement. Eric, you've shared with us, and City, you can look at it. You've shared with us here a clip, and I can see you among other men,
yes,
on top of a very big boat.
It's an ark.
Sisi kwa Sisi, and you're saying this is an ark, and you've posted this on your social media.
Yes.
All right. Comes into very many comments that are coming here. Some, not very many, but some comments that are coming here. Are you showboating?
Are we?
Is this just showbiz? Are you doing this as well to create content? You're a content creator. So this is an opportunity for you to create content. You know, I'm making a boat, and you're saying, let me read the caption of what you've said. Hey, no. Hey.
Just tap on the screen.
Nimetap kwa screen. Achana imeenda hiyo. The caption here, you're saying,
I think you should read the caption.
Met Department says that.
Yeah, sorry. Let me
mute it, and then you can read that caption.
Okay, so the caption is, the Meteorological Department says it's about to get worse, but Kenyans are clearly on their own. The government clearly does not care or seem to have any plans. I'm reading this. Bodies are being retrieved from rivers while citizens are being victim shamed. Sisi kwa Sisi has a plan. We will stand in the gap. The motorized Sisi kwa Sisi ark will reach victims in the remotest parts of Kenya to save lives and deliver food, clothing and medicine. Get ready.
What do you mean by that?
So, as you say, Eric, you're right, yeah? I am a comedian, and I'm a content creator.
Yeah.
And that is a tool I have that I can use to pass a message. That arc may never be used. But the message is very clear that in 2024 we might actually need an arc. Something that was used 5,000 years ago. In the age of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, we might actually need an arc. Because it's a possibility. We are putting a motor, whatever it's called, it's going to be motorized. We might never use it. And the sad state of affairs that we might use it.
Yeah.
That's the sad part.
Yeah.
And people have been saying, oh, there's something I posted yesterday, and I said, everybody thought Noah was an idiot until it started raining.
For 40 years. I can imagine. 40 years. I mean, a 40-year-old man has children. And they're asking, Daddy, ile ni nini
and a
unajenga?
40-year-old has relatives.
Has relatives.
Yes.
Daddy, ile nini ule anajenga? Chana ule mzee.
Wewe mwendo wazimu.
Tangu nikuwa mtoto huyu na ametumia watoto wake wote, hata watoto wake hawajaenda shule, wamekuwa kikatakata miti.
Ni mwendo wazimu.
Piga randa. And then it rained. And so, that's when it made sense to everybody.
So I've seen comments, of course. Cloud chaser, comedian, people are dying. But there's a very high possibility we'll use this.
You know, that you are a public figure is another advantage if one wants to campaign about something, because people already know who you are. And you're right when you say, when you look at the problem, some of the really huge problems we've had in this country, and the manner in which the public has rallied to support other Kenyans. Yes, do here, we in this studio have more or less echoed what you've just said, because you look and you're not left with very many options as to how you can interpret the situation, because you're wondering, we have National Youth Service, we have the Army, we have the Navy, we have paratroopers, we have the Engineering Corps, and the list could go on. And you're saying, but there are all these people who on a daily basis, one isn't very certain what it is that they do, but they are there and they're trained and they're disciplined. How long do we have to wait before you have a situation where you say, look, given the capabilities that you have, let's deploy this so that we can actually do something about it? I remember when there was a Mtongwe ferry disaster in Mombasa. Mtongwe ferry disaster. Mtongwe is where the Navy is. The Navy has divers. The Navy has boats there. If you're talking about underwater gear, the Navy has. Yes, the Navy did come in to help. But if you look at the role that was played by civilians, people in private companies who engaged in businesses that had to do with maritime, it was immense.
How fast they deployed.
Yes. The problem arose, and not 3 days later, they were already marshalling support and really getting to function. Now, you're forced to ask yourself the question, so what is this thing that needs to happen in terms of a disaster for those in power to realize that you actually need to prepare for this? What do we need to see? Because we're already seeing something terrible. This one, the warning signs were even clearer. We're told just a month ago, not 2 months ago, we had El Nino.
Yeah.
We had been told about it. And then we're told heavy rains are coming. And it didn't start during the El Nino. We're told
with a high possibility of flooding.
Yes.
And landslides.
Now, that is early warning.
Yeah.
Very early warning. And yet, we mentioned this yesterday, 2% of everything the county receives is supposed to be set aside for disaster management. 2%. Every single year since the county governments have existed. And every time a problem arises, there's this deer in a headlight situation where it's like everyone is looking at it, what has happened?
So what do we do?
So what do we do? So that 2%, what do you think disaster means? That's why I asked the question. What needs to happen? And yet, if you're talking about the government moving with speed, we've had situations where high-ranking government officials have passed away, for instance, because of cancer.
Yeah.
My goodness gracious me, the rallying,
Yep.
the movement that took place. All I'm saying is, this government lethargy that people keep speaking about, it's contrived. When the government wants to move fast, they will move fast. If they want to move fast, they will not move fast.
If they wanted to act, they would act very fast.
They would act.
The same thing that, that simple example that Eric, you've given. Okay. So you might have said, expect heavy rains from this weekend coming into the next couple of weeks. And it is going to come with heavy flooding. Just seeing that, so what's going to be needed to maneuver here, to respond to this? A boat. You ordered a boat to come all the way from Naivasha on top of a pickup. It came and parked somewhere and sat. This is something that could have been done by any government. In fact, last year, people were even laughing at Sakaja because one of the things that he'd listed there in our preparedness was boats. And people saying, Nairobi. But it made sense. And even then here we said, look, if it's floods, it makes sense to have boats. It made sense then. So why did we not see immediate deployment of boats, of whatever dinghies that can then be used quickly to move into these areas? Those are questions that you're raising, and those are legitimate questions. And even for now, as we are looking at how the response is being coordinated, Eric was speaking earlier and asking, okay, we saw with COVID. With COVID, probably because it was global, and probably because the World Health Organization already came up with a structure and metrics and said every country have a focal point for addressing this. Probably it's because of that sheer lack that we ended up with one here. Either way, we ended up with one structure in this country. The National Emergency Response Committee. The president appointed the cabinet secretary for health and said, you will lead your other cabinet colleagues. They will be CS Treasury for money, CS Education, schools are affected, CS Interior for coordination, CS this and the other. They will be part of this. And then below you, there will be a technical team that will have all experts, weather experts, medical experts, virologists. That's when now we started seeing virologists from the University of Nairobi, the brain trust coming in, the military officials supporting this with deployment and security and all. But there was a structure in place and it worked. This time, despite all the early warnings, there is no clear communicated structure in place. I'm sure we'll be told that there's a structure in place.
Eric, do you remember that?
But there's no communicated structure that we know.
In February, when the Met director predicted what we're seeing now, was he not asked to apologize?
He was told to come and, clear the air.
What do you mean? It's his job. It's what he does. And he said, guys, this is what is going to happen.
Yep.
You're going to continue, Eric?
Yes, and the only thing I'll request the government or the president to do is to declare the floods a national disaster and to deploy Navy on standby in the capital city. Wakae tu hapo. Declare it a national disaster. We lost 1 or 3 people yesterday. An India has just collapsed in Kirinyaga. Right now I'm seeing a 3-story building. It's happening now. The president should declare the floods a national disaster and deploy the Navy, just in case. No, amewambia.
The thing about citizens coming together, it isn't just when a disaster occurs. It's when there's a problem that seems to affect people and they figure out, Eric, what you're saying, and I'm not saying you, Eric, later I'm talking Eric Omondi, Eric. If you look at the proliferation, for instance, of private hospitals or private schools, it's as a result of people figuring out and saying, you know something, this government thing isn't really going to work.
It's not working.
Yes. So, and the government seems comfortable enough to let it happen because, after all, the hospitals are built, people go to them, schools are built. Now, I don't understand why it is that the government doesn't seem to understand that the more that happens, the more irrelevant you become as a government. Because if we're doing this thing on the own, then what do we need you for exactly? I mean, what is it that you are there for?
Yep.
When we are already doing what it is that you're supposed to do for us.
It is sad, but I will continue doing it.
Right. So what are we seeing now? I mean, there's often the question of what should happen. What exactly is happening now? People are being given food. People are being taken to... What's happening? Where are people going? Because oftentimes we say that, okay, folks need to get out of there because obviously you're not staying in a place where there's water. This lady in Kitengela, not going to stay in that place, has to be removed.
Yes.
And the rain keeps coming. What's happening? Being given food, shelter, temporary places.
That's why.
And what's the call? Because like you said, Kenyans for Kenyans, there are many people who want to be able to help out now, and they're not sure how all of this will be coordinated. I think we have different groups of people who are coordinated in their own right in different areas. So what is it that would happen for folks who are stuck?
For me as Eric Omondi and as Team Sisi kwa Sisi, we are putting up a pay bill number like the one we had for Kenyans some years back. I think it was for Turkana.
It was, yes.
Yes. And this, as Eric has said, there seems to be no clear indication or clear communication or plan. Like you can't tell us one. There's no communication that we've received that assures that people get food, blankets, and it's getting worse. So from our end, we're going to establish a pay bill number. This was requested by they're called DIA.
Diaspora.
The women in the US, there are 6,000 of them. They don't call me yesterday. Put up a pay bill, we will start. We are going to, and as my brother says here, we are going to make Kenyans ask the question, what is the government for? What do they do? That's what we want to do. We want to provide help to a level that makes us
That
question.
rivals the government.
Yeah, that sasa let them ask, wait, so kazi ya ni nini? So that's the plan.
You know, Eric, there are things the government actually does. Pity they've never gotten to understand that they need to talk about the things they do, because if you don't talk about it, we don't know. Yeah, well, yes. If let's say, for instance, some friendly government, a donor, a partner, has built this marvelous road that passes by. It's a bypass, and you go through Dongokundu, and from the airport you can now get to the south coast within a matter of minutes, as opposed to the torturous route of going to the ferry. If you don't talk about it, we will not know. It's government. If the government builds some wonderful bridges somewhere, previously there were no bridges. You see, like, for instance, I was having this discussion over the weekend when I was in Mombasa with some colleagues, and we're talking about bridges. I was saying that people know the Nyali Bridge, they know the Kilifi Bridge, they know the Mtopa Bridge, okay? Yes, but they forget that prior to these bridges being built, there were no bridges. Nyali had what you call a floating bridge. Kilifi had a ferry. Okay?
Okay.
Now, there are things that actually change people's lives, and the government has actually been at the heart or at the very helm of it. I'm using this argument to put across this idea that the government can do things if they wish to. If it is in their interest to do something monumental to change the lives of people, they can. So when you have a disaster, why don't they?
Good questions and important questions. Right now, as you're receiving all these messages and cries for help, how can people support you?
We are going to put up a Sisi kwa Sisi pay bill today. It's underway. We applied yesterday.
But how, if anybody wanted to support you in kind,
Oh, in kind.
to join you in a rescue mission? Or
So
something?
my number is out there. We gave it 3 days ago.
Say it out so that we can hear it.
Say it again.
Yes, it's a new number. It's not my family number.
No, new is good, Eric.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a new number. I'm going to
It's
give
a
you guys
disaster
now.
response number.
It's a disaster response number.
Yes.
So the number is 0718
0718
891
891
427.
427. 0718 891 427. So even if somebody is stuck somewhere and they'd like just to raise awareness and call for help, call that number, then you can do something. You
can do something,
be
however
part
small.
of the coordinating of rescue for the people. Thank you, Eric. Keep doing what you're doing.
Asante.
Keep doing. It takes one Kenyan.
That's all it does.
Just takes one Kenyan. It could be it. Eric Noah Omondi has been our guest this morning in the Situation Room. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please stay safe. See how you can support other people. Have a good one.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.